Imagine two children sitting side by side in a classroom. One will inherit more wealth than she could possibly spend in a lifetime. And the other is already worried about whether she will have food on the table that night. This is our reality. Research by Raj Shetty and his team at Harvard found that that second child has less than an 8% chance of reaching the highest income bracket. 8%. So clearly, from the very beginning, inequality isn't just about the numbers. It's about expectations. Globally, though, the story is unfortunately much starker. An Oxfam 2024 report revealed that the top 1% of our world has accumulated over 50% of its wealth. And yet, the bottom 50% has less than 1% between them. Inequality, as I said before, isn't just about the numbers. It also influences how we behave. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about today. How inequality shapes our behaviors. I'm sure we've all heard of Monopoly. I, for one, have a bit of childhood trauma. But researcher Paul Piff used Monopoly as a simulation. He gave certain players certain advantages: more money, more resources. And within minutes, those same players were louder, more boastful, and even took more snacks from the center of the table. And when these players were asked how they won, how they accomplished such a feat, they said it came down to their strategy and not their initial advantage. Piff then realized that privilege quickly becomes invisible to those who hold it. He then decided to take this out of a simulation setting into the real world. He took it to the roads. Now, I don't want to offend any Lamborghini owners here, but he found that drivers of luxury cars were more likely to cut off other people and ignore pedestrians at crosswalks. Something as simple as a visible marker of status influenced how that driver interacted with complete strangers. When we think about income inequality, we usually picture graphs, income tables, or even a massive statistic board. Income inequality can also influence how we think, who we trust, and even how long we're expected to live. In the 1970s onwards in the United States, when inequality started to sharply widen, people found that levels of social trust fell almost in parallel. Social trust simply meaning how likely are you to trust a random stranger on the street. Researchers were curious. They decided to investigate why this might be the case. They attempted to find the hidden cost of inequality. They showed photos of homeless individuals to participants of a survey. In the region of the brain associated with empathy, people found there were low levels of activity there. It's as if those people weren't even fully processed as human at all, dehumanized because of their status. Psychologists now refer to this as status awareness. Now, what does this really mean? Suzanne Fiske developed a stereotype content model in which she found that people who showed more visible signs of wealth were more likely to pay less attention to their colleagues, more likely to multitask when they're talking, and even more likely to dominate conversations. And yet the irony is, they still thought of themselves as better communicators. Now, so far, we've spoken about how inequality can impact our individual interactions. It can also impact, as I'm sure we all know, entire nations. A very visible example of this is populism. Now, of course, this is a TED Talk. I have to use the fancy language. But to put it simply, populism is the idea that pits the common people or ordinary people against the elite. When these people feel left behind by society due to rising inequality, they're feeling poorer, they can't have the same standard of living they had 10 years ago, naturally, they begin to feel some form of resentment. And resentment is a very powerful emotion and an even more powerful political weapon. When these people feel left behind by society, they attempt to reclaim their power back. And there's always that one voice in the crowd that says that they should take it from the elite. Whether that is a good thing or not is an entire TED Talk altogether, so I won't go too in depth. But researchers found that in the regions with the highest inequality, support for populist parties was on average a 10 to 15% increase. A noticeable difference. But to prove my point further, I'm going to give you 3 reasons for why inequality and populism can actually worsen inequality itself. Now, the first of which is populism deepens polarization. What does this mean? We'll work through it step by step together. Firstly, populism creates an us versus them mentality. It clearly divides the population into 2 distinct parts: the people and the elite, no in between. When politicians attempt to compromise between these 2 people, it is seen as a betrayal by both sides, fracturing society in half. The second is populism weakens institutions. Quite intuitive. In places such as the courts, the media, and even universities, just to name a few, populist parties spin this narrative that they are overrun by the corrupt elite, effectively limiting those opportunities for everyone. And finally, populism narrows empathy. Now, we've already spoken a little bit about this one at the start, but I want us to take a slightly different angle on it. We live in a very diverse society. Everyone's different, as my mom always likes to tell me. Naturally, in areas of high inequality, people want an easy solution. People often blame migrants, minorities, political opponents. These people are then cast aside in society. We are no longer as united in regions in high inequality. And the irony is that while populism may be a symptom of inequality, it rarely fixes it. Some would say it actually makes it worse. That's why people often say that inequality is a symptom of inequality, but also a multiplier of it. At the start, I asked you to think of 2 children sitting side by side in a classroom. I asked you to return to them now. They will almost certainly have very different lives, and that, unfortunately, is our reality today. Inequality worsens trust in other people, influences our behaviors, and widens political divides without us even noticing. In the end, inequality punishes us all. We all lose. Those 2 children I began with, though, they are not abstract concepts. They are here. They are real. In every classroom, in every community, and in every society. At the start, I began with a question. So I'll end with one too. Knowing that we now have an us versus them mentality, inequality influences our everyday interactions. Will we see each other as rivals or as equals? Thank you.